If you have any questions about right or wrong, morality, or standards, then call LeBron James, because he's a great basketball player and he should be the foremost authority on those topics. But if you don't give a rat's ass about any of that, then go to www.NTTFGPOD.com and subscribe. I'm Rock.
And I'm Archie. Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
Yo, Rock.
What's up, homeboy?
It looks like John Mayer is just about to sign a deal to have his own variety type talk show. It's based off a talk show in the UK, I believe, the BBC.
Yeah.
And later with John Mayer.
Wait, hang on. BBC? Oh, wait, different kind of BBC. Gotcha.
He's on, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a family podcast, Jason. You know, let's keep the comments apropos.
Now, I like John Mayer. I don't know how you feel about him. A fucking sick guitar player, but I actually like him. I think he's a pretty cool dude. Didn't listen to anything he did with the Grateful Dead because I don't fucking like the Grateful Dead. But awesome guitar player, and he's got a personality. He's done stand-up, as you know.
Yeah.
I think this show might be good. The setting is going to be like a nightclub. The set. I think he's going to have legendary acts and undiscovered acts. Musical, pop culture. I don't know. It's going to be on Paramount Plus, CBS. I think this might be a good show. I'll check it out. What do you think?
I personally like John Mayer. I like the tone of his voice. You say he's a great guitar player, handsome gentleman.
Yeah.
Lucky with the ladies, as they say. Good personality. He is, he did stand up, like you said. I remember back in the day, he was on a skit of like Chappelle show, and it kind of, for me, that was the first time it showed like his personality. But I think it's cool, and they said it's modeled after. I watch it sometimes, called Later with Jules Holland. That's the show I'm talking about in the UK. But I feel like he's the kind of dude that'll have a cool variety show.
Yeah, well, I'm excited.
He could bring the funny.
On a side note, did he have you in mind when he wrote the song "Your Body Is a Wonder Bread"?
Oh, so Arch.
Yo.
It just got reported today that the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship has gone public on the stock exchange.
They outed all their fighters?
Oh boy.
What? On the stockings.
There we go.
How much a share, Rob?
It started off at 24 beans a share.
Okay.
Now, I know they were trying to do this back in 2019, but there wasn't, they said, enough interest and like that kind of thing. So I don't know how that works, but $24 a share, right? I think for what the UFC does and how entertainment is now, especially with the pandemic and shit, people tuning in more. I think that stock will go up. Not that I'm a fucking analyst or anything like that, but so the parent company that owns UFC, that bought it from the Fertittas, is Endeavor Group Holdings. They're a media conglomerate, basically the parent company of the UFC. And Dana White announced today on his Instagram, he wrote, "It's official. The UFC is now a publicly traded company." So what that means, now I always get a little bit weary about shit like that, because I remember like when the WWE went public, right?
All right.
Now it's like, even though that it's a publicly traded company, obviously Endeavor is the majority shareholder, as is Vince McMahon when WWE went public. But I feel like that does kind of put on some like restrictions because of shareholders, you know what I mean? Because now they have a say in it, Okay. And when I say a say, not a majority say, but enough chirping, enough talking, enough influence by the bigger shareholders, could influence what the product is and how it how it operates. Like, I don't know if like Dana White's going to still be able to be himself and drop those F-bombs. Hopefully they leave it alone how it is. Hopefully it makes it better. I don't know how it's going to do that, but I hope that we don't get like a not a watered down version of it, but a more like PG version of it, because it's a violent sport, right? They call it the hurt business for a reason. It's not necessarily like primetime family viewing. So
what you're trying to say is there's now another hand in the cookie jar.
Pretty much, but with making the stock go public, now that's obviously going to give them more money in their pocket to do bigger endeavors, which is cool.
Oh, what?
Do you know how
pay their fighters?
Yeah. And you know what? And I hope that that's the biggest thing that comes out of this, that MMA fighters get more comparable pay to boxers, because I mean, frankly, they deserve it. They're putting, they run more of a risk of, in my opinion, of being hurt inside the cage than a boxer in the ring, from one single fight. I mean, because you could really hurt your whole body in MMA, as we saw, this past Saturday, gruesome injury. Chris Weidman with a compound fracture, breaking his leg. Yeah, pretty much. That was everybody's reaction, but get well soon, Chris Weidman. He had successful surgery and he's already talking about 6 months to a year coming back. So he's a true champion, and we wish him the best on the road to recovery.
On a side note, but if you fight Chris a year and a half from now, or whenever he returns to the octagon, would you not kick his shin?
I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, that's the sport that it is, right? I mean, it sounds like a real dick move, but just know that he wouldn't be cleared to fight, nor would he be able to fight if he wasn't, if that wasn't 100%.
Okay.
And they do say, I mean, I don't know, the old adage is that broken bone heals twice as strong. So who knows?
Kick my shin, bitch.
Right? I'm going to kick the shin out of you.
Yo, Rock.
What's up, pal?
Throughout the years, there have been VJs and DJs that have been spreading the love and flying the flag high for rock and roll and heavy metal. If I chose a Mount Rushmore of all the great ministers of rock, you could say a former guest of ours, Eddie Trunk.
Yep.
You could say Matt Pinfield.
No doubt.
You could even say Jose Mangan.
Yes, you could.
But there's one person that completes the Fantastic Four in my book, my friend, and he's our next guest.
Awesome.
Please welcome to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast, Riki Rachtman.
I thought you were going to say D. Snyder. Let's be honest, guys. If I was on that Mount Rushmore, they would put me like at the part where the trees would go. And then you'd say like, Riki Rachtman's on that Mount Rushmore. You just can't see him through the trees. I am the Rodney Dangerfield, the redheaded stepchild of all that stuff. But I'm okay with it because...
Tell me about it.
I'm all right.
That's awesome, though. Listen, I mean, usually with our podcast, I usually do, Rocco and I do intros of, like their accomplishments or what they've done. And I'm look at your bio and I'm like, all right, well, my fucking intro is going to be for like a half hour, so I can't do it. So I had to come up with a little something. But in our book, man, one of the coolest dudes in rock. So we definitely have the honor of talking to you today, man. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've done a lot. And the truth is, of all the other people that are mentioned, I'm the guy that doesn't have a publicist or manager or agent. So there's a lot of stuff I do that doesn't get any publicity at all. The thing that I think that I'm most proud of, which you would think would be Cathouse or Headbangers Ball, but it's Riki's ride that I do every year. I raise so much money, ride a motorcycle so far, but because I don't have the cool publicist, nobody knows about it. But that doesn't matter. That's not why I do it. I don't know. I don't want to start like that.
Well, from what I've heard in past interviews and heard you say that if you raise $32,500, you hand over a check for $32,500.
You are 100% right. I've also handed over a check for 28, 22. Altogether, Riki's Ride has raised over $100,000 with all of that money going to charities that I knew would use the money. And the reason that I didn't do a Ricky's Ride in 2021 is because I gave all the money to charity, and it just is sending me to the poor farm. So I can't do these charity rides anymore because it's not like, it's like, if I raise $32,000 for Stop Soldier Suicide, I'm giving them a check for $32,000. It's like, wow, I've been on a motorcycle for 2 months with, but anyways.
Yeah. That's pretty fucking dope. I mean, do you plan on continuing this sometime in the future down the road?
I don't know. I'm going to ride a motorcycle from Charlotte to Atlanta in about 12 hours. So for me, it's like, I'm lucky because my girlfriend likes riding motorcycles far as well. And, we're on the East Coast, and we might say like, do you want to take a ride next week to like California? Like when we go on rides, we'll go on rides for like 8,000 miles.
Wow.
Because we ride far. Yeah. So, but as far as doing another Ricky's Ride, I mean, if there was somebody backing it up, like, maybe like if it was a TV show or if it was something like that, but I'll always ride motorcycles. I mean, I will always ride motorcycles. It just might not be a big Ricky's Ride anymore, except this year we're not doing it and we both miss it a lot.
I could see. I have to jump right into it because I'm fucking stoked about this, man. I'm jumping right into the ball.
Get into the ball.
Into the ball. The ball has balls and it's ready to go. So I downloaded an app today, Gimme Metal. And I believe you're on Gimme TV. Is that correct? Or is that Gimme Metal, Gimme TV?
I believe they're the same.
The same?
All I know is, and me, who is like, just figuring out how to get this damn Zoom thing working is I got the Zoom working. But what happens is there's an app called Gimme Metal, and Gimme Metal is on all the time, and they've got great DJs, they've got great programs, and but I found out the way I found out about it was kind of interesting because I also work in motorsports, and at one race there was a Megadeth car racing in the Cup Series, and I was like, how is there a Megadeth car? And I didn't know about this. And I saw it said, Gimme Radio, Gimme Metal. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I checked it out. And I was like, okay, this thing's kind of rad.
Yeah.
Because it was all good music. It was good and it was heavy. And they had all the people that were DJs were like Randy Blythe of Lamb and Brian Posehn, the comic, and Dave Mustaine. And I was like, this is cool. And then I saw it said, Gimme TV Beta. I was like, oh, they're going to start a TV show. So I was like, hi, Gimme Metal. My name's Riki Rachtman. I used to do a TV. Can I do a show on your channel? And they're like, yes. And I was like, okay, I'd like to pick every video and do every segment myself. Holy crap. How much is that espresso you're drinking or sake?
Oh, that's espresso. Got a long night ahead of me.
Hold on a second. How do you keep on going like this? And then don't tell me you take sort of pussy sips and not drinking a whole espresso shot in one gulp. Are you drinking espresso?
I think off camera he's filling it up with Sambuca. I mean, he's done with the espresso.
that's more understandable. In any case, to be real short, Gimme Metal was all about it. And, what I thought would take me a day to do a show ended up taking me 3 days in editing because we're doing the whole thing ourselves. And every week we come up with crazier and crazy weird things in between videos. And I'm telling you, I love doing the Headbangers Ball. I'm so proud of the Headbangers Ball, but I had no say in anything. I never picked a video. It was not the show that I would have done, but it was the right show for the time because it catered to, Headbangers Ball wanted to get the masses. They wanted to get as many people watching that show as possible. So if they're going to play something from Napalm Death, they're also going to play something from Warrant. Yep. Okay, so be it. I understand. I didn't program the show. Well, the Ball, I pick every damn video that's on the show.
Nice.
And I was reading reviews on the show before the show ever came out. And one guy, and I think it might've been in like Blabbermouth or something like that said something like, oh yeah, Riki Rachtman's doing a show. Everybody's ready for 2 hours of hair metal. I was like, dude, you've never even seen the freaking show. It's never been on the air. But I told him, I said, hey, don't watch the show. Don't watch it. And it's not that show. It's heavy. It's aggressive. It's mean. It's in your face. And I think the show's badass. And the truth of the matter is, if I would have put on Whitesnake and Dawkins, I would have had a lot more people watching it. But instead, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play heavy stuff on it. And wow, Cannibal Corpse is huge on the charts right now. How can I not play Cannibal Corpse? Yeah. I love Spirit Box, but I also like, a lot of old bands, whether it's, Dio or Suicidal Tendencies or Danzig. But yeah, I want to throw in something from Satyricon. I mean, I just want to have fun and just take all the heavy outlaw music. And the beauty of it is I've got all the people that are from my age watching it saying, holy crap, I've never heard of Alien Weaponry. I never heard of Power Trip. And they're getting into the music. And there's a ton of kids all over the world that are watching this show that are like, oh my God, I was not familiar with, Death Angel. So when people say, hey, you turned me on to this band, I'm like, hey, thank you. That really means a lot to me because I put a lot into what goes into this show. And I'm very, very proud of it. And I think it's a damn good product. And is it for everybody? Nope. But it's for a lot of people. And there's a live chat while the show's on.
Yeah.
So the show's on and people are like, dude, this video's nasty. I'm like, yeah. But here's the other thing. There's no haters in it. There's no haters. We had these people set up that if people were talking crap, we were going to delete them from the chat room. And I think we're at a turning point right now that people are like, I'm kind of sick of people talking smack. And when I put negativity out there, it doesn't matter how much negativity I put out there, somebody's going to stick on me. So instead, if people are being positive and the beauty of it not being, and people are like, well, it's only on at a certain time. It should be on YouTube where we can watch it anytime. Okay, that's true. But here's the deal. If you watch this show on YouTube and there's a video that you've never seen before, click fast forward, fast forward, and you're not going to get exposed to something new. You can't fast forward through my show. You're going to watch it just like you used to watch a Headbangers Ball, even though the show isn't really anything like that, Bangers, and you're going to watch the whole show and it's working. And the thing that blows me away is not only how big the show is, but how many people are watching it internationally. And that's what's really cool. It's really flattering. There's kids that are watching me that like, dude, when I was 20, I wouldn't have listened to some guy that was like in his 50s talking about rock and roll.
If someone would have mentioned to you years ago that there's a possibility you're going to be on an app, on a phone, on a what? Like, do you know, like the way the world has just progressed, and anyone could, start a podcast nowadays, and anybody could, it's just amazing. It's amazing the way the world has just transformed and progressed. And something like this is just, I downloaded the app today and I thought it was so cool. And I didn't have that much time to futz around with it. And then I saw that there was like a vault that you could go into and maybe like see past episodes, but
not the ball though. The ball is not the thing about the ball is when you get the app, if you want to watch all the shows and all the programming, I think they charge like $4 something a month.
$4.99.
Okay, which is fine. The ball's free. The ball is totally free. So you don't have to subscribe. If you subscribe, I don't make a penny. Yeah. But I think everybody should subscribe because they're really down with the scene and they really support heavy music, and it's a good app. Like I sat there and I subscribed and I'm sitting there watching a whole movie about the new wave of British metal, with Maiden and Priest. I'm like, this is great. And they're getting more and more shows. So my show's free. I don't have any incentives to tell you guys to subscribe.
Gotcha.
But I would. It's good music and it supports the scene, and they do stuff with artists as well. And it's a really, really cool thing. And I'm glad that we're not archived, because that means you have to sit down, you have to watch the show, and it's really easy to watch it on your phone, and you click like the stream thing and it's on your TV. And Saturday nights, I sit at home and we're in the chat room and we're watching it on TV. And I never really watched Headbangers Ball, but I watched this show because I've got so much invested in it, meaning time. Yeah. And I like it. I really like the show.
Good.
It sounds like a cool format that it's interactive and you can see the people are digging it, comments. And I feel like more than any other genre of music, I feel like the rock and metal community is actually a community, you know what I mean? Where people kind of build each other up, and instead of like, the negativity that you talked about before.
I disagree.
Really?
I think it is a community, but it's also one of the most divided music communities you could ever imagine.
Okay.
Whether it's the people that like, oh, Riki Rachtman, you're grunge, you wore a flannel shirt. Oh, what about hair metal? What about, it's like, dude, let me just tell you something. Okay. Even though the ball, I don't play a lot of the 80s, 90s. I call them Cathouse era band because I don't ever word hair metal. The Cathouse bands being the Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, Junkyard, Jet Boy, Rhino Bucket, all those bands, which I love. And even though I did play one Faster Pussycat video in 5 shows, out of 5 shows, that was the only like Cathouse band that I played on. But I still keep it like heavier, sort of. And that's not to say anything bad about those bands. I would love to do a show that was like the Cathouse Hour where I play all those bands. But this is not that show. This is the ball. And it's very possible that somebody that wants to hear something from Winger is not going to like the ball. And that's okay. But for the people that are like, you know, I get ripped to shreds on message boards to the point I just like stop reading them because you know, if you like a certain genre, you like that, and you aren't willing to my house. And if you like a different genre, you know, you don't open your ears to other stuff. And I like it when people listen to all different stuff. And that's why that's why I'm very particular on the new videos that I play on the ball, because I'm hoping it's something unique that people will get turned on to and go like, holy crap, that's really cool.
Yeah. Do you do like a lead into a video, a skit? Do you write something? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh my God.
How you come up with that stuff?
It gets more and more bizarre. We have segments we did. Where the F is Leah Vendetta, who was on the TV show Ink Masters and stuff like that. And she talks about a country and then plays another band from the country. And then we go a sermon from Reverend Riki Rachtman, which you have to just see. There's like just goofy stuff I do in the show. And the thing is, like, whether it's the show that's going to air Saturday, I tried filming segments while I'm on my motorcycle, like going into a toddler tour video while I'm talking about, now I'm going to play something while I'm riding my bike, which really worked great until the clutch went out and then I ran out of gas.
Right.
So that's all in the show. And then going to really scary places, or, you know, the show that aired last week, we tried the hottest hot sauce in the world. You know, so we do different things, because the truth is, if it was just a video show, you can get videos anywhere. And we have guests. I mean, so far the guests have been Jamie from Code Orange, Mark Morton from Lamb of God, Will from Death Angel, Brian Posehn. And what you guys are getting the scoop on is the next show, which is going to be May 8th, which is the 8th of May, which is Motorhead Day. I'm going to be getting a Motorhead tattoo. We're going to, I think I've got a special guest perhaps on that show. And I am going to have Dave Mustaine on that show. So for anybody that watched Headbangers Ball, knew about me and Dave Mustaine is going to be on the May 8th ball. So that's probably going to be even crazier. So I probably won't be doing any stupid skits with Dave Mustaine. Well, but we do lots of goofy stuff and basically have fun. And I film it, I write it, I edit it, I produce it. The only time I'm not filming it myself is when my girlfriend is holding the camera and filming for me. But I think the stuff looks really cool. It looks like a kind of goofy public access show that plays killer videos and has killer guests.
See, I think it's an awesome idea, because just hearing the excitement in your voice, you're doing it because you feel like you dig this. And like you said, going back to Headbangers Ball, you know, you didn't have a say in things. It was like, okay, Ricky, do this, do that. This is what we're doing. Here's the guest, you know. But I feel like stuff that's a labor of love that you really enjoy doing. If you feel that you're entertaining yourself, that other people are going to love it too.
I hope so. I mean, the thing is, you know, before there was producers and editors, so I might say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to put on pajamas and eat cereal and do the cartoon pit and play animated videos like it's a kid's show. Now I do it, I film it, I edit it, I send it on, and it goes on the air. It's like, there's nowhere that it stops in between. So I might do something that's really stupid and nobody says like, dude, that's not funny. It's just dumb. And I don't know until it's on the air and people might say like, that's dumb. So yes, you are 100% correct. It is a labor of love, but because there is no filtering process, I'm hoping these things are funny. You know, I'm hoping these things are entertaining. I'm hoping, you know, on the next show, we go to this place that was the site of this like brutal murder and supposedly is haunted. And there's just like a lot of different stuff. It's really fun. The entire thing is shot on a phone.
It's going back to what we talked about. Did you think on a phone?
Like I remember, I've done stuff where I said, look, man, why don't you call me? And it's like, what is that? What is that? I'm like, oh, why don't you call me? Like,
oh man. Is there any, besides the messages, because you said that you can do like a live feed, people can message in. Besides that, is there anyone telling you on the back end, analytic wise, like, hey, listen, your age is here, your crowd is this is anything?
Nope. Because I check and I mean, there's interesting ways that I tell. I own an apparel company that says Cathouse shirts, and we still have some Headbangers ball shirts, but primarily it sells Cathouse stuff. And the thing that I notice is like, wow, last week we tripled our sales in international orders. And my parrot's loose somewhere, and I'm just thinking he's going to bite my foot any second. So I don't ask for the analytics, but I know that there's a couple times that it froze up because we had more than the bandwidth could hold.
Oh, wow.
The thing. Nice. So we did a little Kardashian thing. And I just know that they keep telling me that it's like ridiculously huge and getting bigger and bigger every week. And I know that, like I actually go out and people recognize me from the ball, which is like, damn, really? Really?
Yo, you're on the ball, right?
But they actually probably said that before. Yeah. It's funny. They never called the Headbangers ball. They always say, dude, why don't you bring the ball back? I'm like, well, I did. But It's not the Headbangers. It feels more outlaw and underground than the Headbangers ball. But that's just because it's more unprofessional. We don't have any like professionals working on it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's more real than the Headbangers ball as far as...
I don't want to sound like I'm slamming the Headbangers ball because I love the Headbangers ball. And if MTV called me right now and said, would you do the Headbangers ball? I'm like, yes. I would totally do it. But I wish they would say, let's put the ball on a bigger scale. But if the ball was on a bigger scale, the beauty of it being on Gimme Metal is I get to do whatever I want. And they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of time. It's very tedious because I have no editing skills, as you'll see when you watch the show. And, but yeah, I loved Headbangers Ball. I loved that, I got to go all over the world, and in here on the ball, I get to go in my backyard, and, it's just, it's fun. But I'd love to do a show like this on a bigger scale. And I miss being on television. I really like doing TV, which is weird because, I'm not an actor or a broadcast. I'm the one of the people that you mentioned on that Mount Rushmore. I'm the only one with no broadcasting background whatsoever. As it turned out, I ended up getting in, radio and everything afterwards.
Yeah.
But I never strived to be a DJ or a VJ. It just kind of was like my first time ever on camera was on the Headbangers Ball.
Would you say you feel most comfortable being a VJ more than a DJ? Like, is that where your heart is more, or did you like the DJ?
It makes no difference to me. It's, I did many years in talk radio in Los Angeles, and I hosted the show Loveline, which was syndicated nationally. And to me, if I'm talking to people, whether I'm just talking to you on Zoom or if I'm talking with just a microphone or whatever I'm doing, it makes no difference to me. I mean, the truth of the matter is the smart Riki would say, you're getting older, dude. Go to radio. Get yourself off camera as much as you can.
Gotcha.
And especially when I don't have makeup or lights, really now is the time to really stop being on camera. But I love it because I like being, I like playing, I like having fun. And that's kind of what I do with the ball. I just don't play too much because then I go into videos. But even the videos some of the videos are it's fun. And I like it. I love the music.
Well, I'm psyched about the Dave Mustaine. I'm going to check that shit out.
Yeah, a lot of people are. That's the only time I think I'm like, wow, what's this going to be like? Like, is he going to be like, oh, hello, Riki? Because you never know with Dave. I think he's a different Dave now.
Okay.
But the truth is, when me and Dave Mustaine were at the height of our like feud, which wasn't that much of a feud, but everybody thought it was. The truth is, it always was one of those ones like, I don't want this to be a feud because I don't want to stop listening to Megadeth. Because if I run into somebody and they're a dick, I don't listen to their bands anymore.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And I don't want to stop listening to Megadeth. And so, me and Dave, we had an interesting relationship, but it's all good and it's all respect. I hope.
our podcast hit about a year last month, and I started flipping through Apple Podcasts, and I'm checking different people in my genre and everything, in our genre, and I saw a Cathouse podcast, and I went, Cathouse podcast, okay, I know that logo, and then I went, wow, holy shit, he's got a okay, all right, I went on a fucking binge, like I just listened to all your shit, like I obviously I'm younger, I was never there, I'm from Jersey, I was never out there, but the documentaries, the interviews throughout the years, everything. I just needed to soak that all in. And then hearing like John 5, stories about John 5 sneaking in because he was so little. And I think you had him on that podcast, and he was like, you know, I don't know if you, why don't you bring the Cathouse back? And then it was like, well, it'll never be duplicated. You can't do it. But I enjoyed your podcast so much because you had awesome stories.
The big difference of my podcast, here's the funny thing, is I appreciate that. I think the Cathouse Hollywood podcasts were really good. I put a lot of time into it. Everybody's like, why didn't you write a book? Why don't you make a TV show? Why don't you do this? And what's funny is like you read all these books about, you know, the 80s, 90s rock scene, and they're not talking about stuff that happened at the Cathouse. And I'm like reading this and I'm like, okay, that's not like the whole Axl David Bowie thing or the Vince Neil thing. I'm like, that happened like right next to me. That's not what happened. So I'm like, I'm going to tell these stories. And I try to present it like it is a book, like it is taking you on a journey.
Yes.
And, you know, I think the Cathouse, but it just became very, very time consuming. And, you know, I had Alice Cooper telling me, dude, why aren't you doing a Netflix show about the Cathouse? I think I kept on trying to talk to him, and all he kept saying was, why aren't you doing a show about Netflix? What? Well, I don't have an agent manager. If Netflix wants to call me, I don't reach out to any of these people. I think the Cathouse story would be phenomenal.
Oh, fuck.
And I know that sounds weird for me to say that, like, oh yeah, but you heard the podcast. The podcast has got some great stories. And I try to paint a picture of what it was really like in the 80s and 90s, despite other than just the Cathouse, like what we were watching on TV, what we were doing, and my personal struggles that I went through at that time, because I went through a lot of struggles. And I'm very proud of that Cathouse Hollywood podcast. I did another one called the Triple R, and I hope to start getting back into podcasting because it's such a personal medium and I really like it. And you know, now that I know that there's ways to do it on Zoom with cameras and stuff like that, I'm like, maybe I will. But just right now, it's like I don't have I have not had a day off. I don't even know when. Like I'm going to be working all night editing the Cathouse podcast, and then I got to go to Atlanta early in the morning.
Yeah. I think it was like 90 or 91. A quick little story that my family goes out to California, and my brother is like 26 at the time. He's like, well, all right, you're going to bed and I'm going out. So he goes out, and long story short, he goes to the Cathouse, buys a t-shirt, and he goes, where am I going to talk to Steve Jonesy?
Always there.
And Ozzy Osbourne the same fucking night. He goes, I'm a chiropractor from New York. Where am I going to talk? And it's not like a thing where like, you know, people like are bugging them and shit. Like my brother said, he was sitting down, he turned his back to the bar, he was having a drink. Hey Jonesy, I like that solo you did on that new album. Blah blah blah. Thank you very much. And that's it. And it was just a chill type of fucking club. And that's just a little story, you know, but your club had such an impact on rock and roll that, yeah, Netflix should hear this and should.
The thing about the Cathouse is, you know, you got to remember, I was barely old enough to drink when we opened the Cathouse, and it was me and Tammy, a Faster Pussycat, and we opened the club. And you know, it's been said so many times, and seems like such a cliche that we opened it to meet girls and get free drinks. But that's the honest to God truth, because I had no game. I wasn't in a band, and all my friends were starting bands. And I just said, okay, all these guys like Nikki Sixx wants to come here and drunk, no cameras allowed in the club. So I made this rule, no cameras allowed in the club, no autograph seekers, no anything. And because we had those rules, all the rock stars used to hang out there because nobody would get bugged. And then, Jonesy used to show up and he had his Harley parked out front and he had this long, beautiful hair. And he would just sit there and just like wait and grab a girl, take off on the bike. And he was there every time. And, there's some fun stories about Jonesy too. And I love him. And for me, it was like really cool because, my background's actually punk rock. So to know the guitarist, the Sex Pistols hangs out at the Cathouse, that was almost more cool than to me, Axl, Ozzy or Robert Plant was once there. But I didn't meet Robert Plant. The girl comes down to, Robert Plant's at the bar and he's left and he's Robert Plant is in my bar, and I didn't get Robert Plant. And that was kind of, but it is. And I mean, that we're still talking about it, that people still buy Cathouse shirts is really flattering. It really, really is. And,
bought one the other day.
Huh?
I bought one the other day.
So thank you.
My brother, he said, because he told me this, I told him I was going to have you on in a couple of days. And he said, and I bought a cool shirt when I was there. I don't know where that shirt is. And I was like, I got you.
It's the same exact shirt.
And I got him a shirt.
The one we have a whole bunch of different shirts, but the Cathouse shirt is the same shirt that we had back then. It just doesn't smell like liquor or have all ripped up. But the reason I started that is about 10 years ago, I saw somebody selling a Cathouse shirt for $300, and I'm like, whoa, screw that. So I'm gonna make it myself and some for 25 or 20 or whatever I saw them for.
Yeah.
And it's neat that people do it, and it is very, very flattering.
And the Cathouse obviously immortalized in Decline of Western Civilization Part 2. That was my first hearing about it.
Most people
late 80s, and I'm like, okay. And then you talk about how women were let into the club and how they dressed, and that's gotta feel cool that when you look back on your whole career of so many things, like immortalized in a famous movie. Headbangers Ball was like a standard, you know what I mean, that people just grew up on and consumed music through that, and you're still doing it, so that's gotta feel pretty good.
More pathetic. It does. It's really neat to do the ball because, I think the reason that I did the ball, because this was my idea concept, is not because I wanted to try to get fame or money, because those things ain't going to happen from this show. But the reason it was just like, it got to be a point that every time there was a medal award show or every time there was all these things, I never got invited to anything. And I would just go, is it me? And then I remember they did the Golden Gods Award. Revolver did the Golden God Awards. And look, I'm no rock star. I get it. But when they did the Golden God Awards and they had, Jamie Josta and Jose Magnin work the red carpet, I was like, wow, man, why couldn't they have asked? They could have just asked me to host a red. I would have done it. So then I just tried to get tickets. And when I showed up at the Revolver Golden God Awards, I walked towards the red carpet and they said, no, you guys, you have to go around the red carpet. And because I wasn't famous enough to walk the red carpet at the Golden God Awards. So I was like, fuck you, So the reason I'm doing the ball is showing it's like, look, this show that I'm doing right now is better than any other show that any of these other fuckers are going to come up with. And I'm doing it right now, and I'm doing it for the right reason. And I don't know if I'm going to do it for another 2 weeks, but if I do it now and it's done, I'm very, very proud of what I put out there. And that is the heavy music show that I wanted to do.
And that's it. You fucking do it.
Exactly.
And that's it.
And it was just like, okay, and everybody's like, well, you'd have a lot more viewers if you played Slaughter. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'm like, nothing wrong with it. That's not what the ball is.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that, that people from, and the cool thing is to get letters from kids that are watching it. And I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. It's really, really cool.
What I did want to know, if you don't mind, about the Cathouse real quick. Because I've seen like documentaries on the Rainbow and shit like that. What differentiates the Cathouse from the Strip, the clubs on the Strip? Because I believe that you weren't on the Strip. correct?
No, you weren't.
Yeah,
No,
it was
you
like
weren't.
more of like a dingier area, if I'm from what I heard.
Absolutely.
What differentiated the Cat House from the Strip?
The Cat House was more outlaw. You know, you would show up and there were just like, 40 motorcycles parked out in front. And it had a feeling of danger, but it was very safe. And it wasn't really a live venue. When I opened up the Cat House, the idea was to open up a rock and roll dance club. And that's what it was. Just play rock and roll and let people dance. And then we slowly started getting bands to play, and then more and more bands would play. And then at when all of a sudden all these bands are asking to play and they're all like stellar bands, I'm like, okay. And, but it was a little, eventually we had the people from the Sunset Strip coming to the Cat House. But when you showed up at the Cat House, there's a big difference between the people that are in the, very glittery bands on the Sunset Strip. There's a big difference in the look of Poison as opposed to Guns N' Roses. And even though the guys in Poison came to the Cat House, and a lot of those bands like the Warrants and all those people came to the Cat House, we were more of that Guns N' Roses, gypsy, junky, dirty, mouth off, you're going to get punched, but be respectful and have fun and sleazy and don't talk about what happens at the Cat House. That's what we were. There's like an element of danger. And because we didn't care who you were, we didn't have the roped out VIP section. And that's why, Michelle Pfeiffer and Cher in the DJ booth spinning their sweaters around, because it was just like dirty, dingy rock and roll where anything could happen and nobody's going to hear about it. Hopefully the next time, unless I do a podcast 25 years later and tell everybody about it.
And to Arch's question, what differentiated it, I think like probably what you said before, that, these, famous people in bands could go there and know that it was cool and it was a safe environment for them where nobody was going to be bugging them or talking about what they did that night.
And it was the cat, like people like, on the Sunset Strip, it's like, hey, let's go to the Whiskey because LA Guns are playing. Hey, let's go to the Roxy because, we're going to go see Jet Boy. Hey, let's go to the Cat House. That was it. It's like, let's go to the Cat House. You would go to the Cat House.
I don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
And we were only open one night a week. We were only open on Tuesdays.
How is that possible?
That was the other thing.
Wow.
How is that even possible?
I didn't own the building. I rented the building out every Tuesday night. I didn't own the building.
Okay.
So because it was only Tuesday night, I don't care what you do on Saturdays or Thursdays. Well, Thursdays I owned a club called Bordello too, so I did care. But Tuesdays, you came to the Cat House and it didn't matter what else was going on. Tuesdays was the Cat House, and people altered their schedules. They knew that they were going to be in a bad predicament at work on Wednesdays. That was the way it was.
Oh my God. Cause it's like a fucking, like a culture.
It really, there were fashion magazines, Women's Wear Daily, California Apparel News, Sports International. They were all doing stories about the Cat House and the fashion that came out there without us ever trying to be fashionable. It was just,
yeah.
I don't know. It was such a different time, a different lifestyle. And I'm so very lucky and grateful that I was a part of it.
So the Cat House, it finished what year?
It kind of finished in about 92.
Why did it finish? Why was Cat House no more?
This was dying. The scene felt like it was sort of dying. I was working on Headbangers Ball. I didn't get to give it the time that it should have gotten. Mm-hmm. And, while most clubs would have stayed open with a couple hundred people there, I just thought it was time to close. I tried to open it a couple times, like throughout the years. I did a 20th anniversary, a 30th anniversary, and I would do, brief little Cat House things here and there. But, I think it was about 92 or 90, maybe it was 93. I don't remember. I remember it was that I hated the last night. I remember Motorhead played.
Okay.
And I just remember it was like, I had Headbangers Ball, but it was like, this was everything I knew. The Cat House gave me everything. The Cat House gave me the Headbangers Ball. The Cat House, the way I look at it is the Cat House gave me the house that I live in now,
Gotcha.
I still can't get over is only open one night a week.
Yeah.
That's what, out of all things you're saying, that's what blows my mind.
because that way it was like, you go that Tuesday night. It wasn't like who's playing at the Cathouse. It's like, one of the great stories is people that went to the Cathouse. I think it was in 91 or something, and they were there early and they were drinking at the bar, and they were like, oh, this band kind of sounds like Rod Stewart of Faces. And then they walked out on the bar and they were like out on the dance floor. There were like 40 people there, and it was the Black Crowes, so you never really knew who was going to play. And if it was an unsigned band, you pretty much knew that band was going to end up being huge. When White Zombie played the Cathouse, they were just starting to get big. But a lot of bands that played the Cathouse were already big, like Alice Cooper, like Megadeth, Guns N' Roses. These were people that were selling, 30,000 seats, or Guns N' Roses much bigger than that, but still come back to play the Cathouse in front of 500 people.
Do you think a club like that could survive today?
No, I think a rock and roll bar could survive if it was just a bar you would walk in and out of. I think Duff's is really cool in Brooklyn, because you walk in there and it's rock and roll playing. But as far as the Cathouse, I don't think it would, because people don't want to invest in going out every week. And it's like, well, what's going on? What's going to happen this week? Oh, and people are bored, and people would bring their phones in the club. I wish I had a little bar. I think it'd be really fun to do a Cathouse in Vegas. I think that'd be really fun, and doing something like you get thrown out if you use your phone or something. I think that'd be really neat, but it's a different time. People were more willing to be decadent and dangerous back then, and they're not anymore.
You think it's too, like there's just not like maybe the scene is different, obviously, with how the world is today, but even like where we're from, New York, New Jersey, all of the famous like clubs like closed down because there's not people going. There wasn't like the music will never die, right? But the scene is just, it's different.
Well, I mean, we used to, you go to the scrap bar so many nights, and then after a while, it's like, okay, what's going on here? I need something different, or I've got life that I have to deal with, or I've got a wife and kids and stuff like that. And then people just don't go out like they do. I mean, clubs don't have the life that they did,
Yeah. I just want to jump into a little bit of the podcast a little bit. Triple R. Rocky and I can ask you fucking 2-3 hours about Headbangers Ball. We're not going to do it. You get it all the time. But when you transformed into podcasting, did you say this was something that I absolutely want to get into right away when you saw podcasting come out, or it wasn't your thing?
I think I was just too lazy to write a book. That's, I think, why I started the Cathouse podcast. I don't remember how, because I would watch a video and figure out how to do it, and then putting in so many hours and never making any money. Because it was really for the art, because the money wasn't there. But I will tell you that I will return to podcasting, because I like that, even though it's not live, that when I'm the producer and editor of the show, I say what happens, and it's very personal. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I like to hear people tell stories, and it's very personal. When you're driving in your car, wherever you are, they're in your head, and you listen to these people, and some people are good at it, some people aren't.
Yeah.
I think it's something, and it might be something that I stop doing some of the other things I do and focus more on podcasting. When I was the one that had the very last interview with Burt Reynolds.
I just heard that today.
Nobody listened to that. I mean, yeah, there was probably like 10,000 people or whatever, but I thought that'd be like 500,000 listeners, and people didn't listen. I'm like, motherfuckers, I'm the one. I interviewed Burt freaking Reynolds.
I know.
But it was just like, so it's a thing that, and then you find yourself looking at how many downloads you're getting. And, Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the theft of joy, which is true, but I just don't follow that enough, because I keep on comparing myself to other people that are on big, like, hey, how come my podcast made it to number, when the Cathouse Hollywood podcast was first launched, I had like 6 episodes in the top 10 in iTunes. And I was like, well, this is how it's going to be. Kind of slowed down a little bit, and then they were still doing good in each, but when people say, a good podcast, it's not that easy getting a lot. And you guys know this. It's not that easy, because there's so many podcasts out there. And if I would have kept on doing it every single week or 2 weeks, I'm sure I would have been very successful at it. But, there's a shiny new toy called podcasting, and I can do a show called The Ball. Let me put that aside. And and that's the thing. Like I can see myself, especially with the Triple R, because I really enjoyed doing that and telling stories and making it almost a reality show. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, I know Arch wants to. I have to talk to you about your time in WCW. I'm like a wrestling nerd. Me too. I love wrestling. That's awesome.
I was so stoked. Just the thing, it's like I don't remember what it was. Well, first I saw Kazarian wearing a Headbangers Ball shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dolph Ziggler wears Cathouse shirts all the time.
Yeah,
I just think
he does.
I'm just like, that is like, everybody's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, no, that's so badass. I work nonstop, but occasionally, especially on a Monday night and a Wednesday night, I like to take a little time off and watch wrestling. And I really, really enjoy wrestling.
When I love it when like things I love, like when worlds collide, I'm like, holy fuck, Riki Rachtman's on wrestling now. I'm like, this is like
I didn't do anything. That was the biggest problem with WCW is they didn't let me do a damn thing. I was like, I want to be a heel manager. I'd be so good at it. Instead, I'm on the beach talking about athlete foot spray. I'm like, come on, I got to judge him. I got to host the Miss Nitro contest, which was kind of fun, but I really wanted to be a part of wrestling. I still do. I still really would love to be a manager in wrestling. I really would.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh my God, it would be so rad. It would be so. I mean, when was the last great? I mean, since Jimmy Hart, when was the last time we had a really great wrestling manager?
Yeah.
We don't have. I mean, there are some, but I can't think of any great wrestling managers. I think there's a lot of great wrestlers out there, and there's a lot of stars, and I like it. I love wrestling. I love Stone Cold does these shows where he interviews people and they're so good. And I'm just so fascinated by hearing these people's stories. And I just think it's really, really good. I think the problem we have in wrestling now is everybody knows that there's a designate. I don't like to use the F word, the four-letter F word about it being, but everybody knows that certain things are scripted out now.
Yep.
And they don't even try to keep it a mystery anymore. You might have these two people that hate each other, but then you have a picture of them vacationing in the Bahamas. And like, you used to have that. It's like you used to have it. Like if there was a guy that was a heel, he needed to get escorted to his car because people would throw bricks at him, and people hated the enemies and they loved the heroes. And it's like, I don't remember if it was Macho Man's final time in the ring or somebody's, but like I found myself getting a little teary eyed when
I get that too. And I'm like, what the fuck?
And it's like they don't even try. It's like, that this is, premeditated winner. And even though there's some people that are really good heels, I don't think we have that like hatred for some people. There's some wrestlers that are good heels. Like if I sit there and I go, man, I really hate MJF. It's like, oh, he's doing a really good job, because I hate him.
Yeah.
He's he and for how young he is, he's probably like the best out there now as a true heel, because like you said, it got to a point where heels were cool. Like you're the cool heel. He's like where people are like, you piece of shit.
Like I don't like him. Like the worst is watching wrestlers that I like I don't care about. If I don't care about them, or there's certain wrestlers that I'll see and I'm like, this person bugs me, like not in a good way. Like this person just really bugs me. But when I see people that either I really like or really don't like, I'm like, okay, this is fun. And the athleticism by all of these wrestlers is just incredible. How there's not like a death every night, I don't know, because some of the stuff it's just brutal.
But to what you said about how back in the day you would never see like a heel and a face together outside of the ring, and I remember in like the late 80s. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik were like mortal enemies feuding. They got arrested together on the Jersey Turnpike. Like got caught with like drugs and something else. I read it in the paper. I was younger. I read it in the paper. I'm like, Dad, someone's gonna have to fucking explain this to me. I'm like, why are they together in a car?
But that's the beauty. It's like let us have that. Okay. I don't want the heels and the baby faces to travel together. I don't want them to together. I don't want to see them vacation. I don't want them to be in each other's reality shows. If I believe that, if I believe that, Randy Orton really hates this guy, I don't want to see them walking together after the match. I want to really do truly hate each other. Let me have that.
And what's good, I mean, obviously, like, you can literally watch a different company every night of the week, right? And wrestling, you hear it on like XM, you hear it on, interviews, but it's like, it's weird. Like when they're on an interview, it's like, okay, are they in character? Or are they like talking as like, it's like they kind of go back and forth. So it gets like confusing as to what they're going for.
I remember when Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell had some real heat with each other, and they had a match together, and we were like, I think these guys are going to really beat the crap out of each other. And I remember watching it like, holy crap, like these people, like, they really didn't like each other at all. And I thought that was always interesting when there really was some real heat between these people.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard. I just think that some of these people are so good. And it's always fun when my girlfriend watches wrestling, who's brand new to it. And there's people that she's like, oh, this person's really cool. I'm like, okay, good. That person's doing good. Or I hate that person. When who's so new to it, like certain stuff about wrestling, I'm like, okay, good, they're doing their good job, because I truly love and appreciate wrestling.
Seriously, we just want to thank you so much for your time. Obviously, I can speak for Rocco myself. We wish we were in a different time that we could have went to the Cathouse, because we would have loved it. I mean, what you did on Headbangers Ball, we truly respect, and it's immortalized in our heads forever, and we love it. Can you tell everybody, we got the ball, tell everybody where they could find you, what's coming up next, what's in Riki Rachtman's life?
Well, the thing that I'm very happy about is now I have 2 balls, and you can watch the ball on Saturday nights, which is at 9:00 Eastern, 6:00 Pacific. And we now have a replay of the ball on Fridays that is on 10:00 a.m. Pacific, 1:00 East Coast time. The reason that it's at those times is so people can watch it Friday night in Europe. So in France and Denmark and Sweden, they're getting it like 6 or 7 o'clock on Friday nights. So now I have 2 balls for you to enjoy, and I'm on live chat for each of them.
Beautiful.
And we have a really, really good time and like the show. And I don't know how long I'm going to do the show, but I know that that I'm having a good time, and I really, really like that people like it. And if you want to buy any of my stuff, go to cathousehollywood.com. And also, if I don't know how far are you from Weedsport, New York?
It's got to be upstate, right, Rock? Probably maybe 3, 4, 5 hours, probably.
One of the other jobs I have is I work for the American Flat Track Racing. Okay. And so if any of those motorcycle races come to your town, I work all of those. So I travel with American Flat Track Racing, and I'm like the guy that's on the microphone talking to people and talking to people on the podium and doing all that stuff, which is cool because I love the sport. So those are the places that you can find me, and hopefully I'll have some Cathouse and Triple R podcasts out soon. And I have a radio show called Racing Rocks. It's heard all over America. And that's enough for right now, I think.
And you're leaving for Atlanta.
I'm leaving for Atlanta for the flat track race, because the flat track race is coming up. And then I'm going to be in Dallas and Illinois and who knows where.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I have a feeling possibly in the near future we might hopefully we can talk again, because you're going to be promoting something pretty dope. I don't know what it is. You might not know what it is, but I have a feeling.
All I know is it's about time I do something that pays me a shitload of money, because you know what?
Yeah, man.
It's really nice that I'm doing all these really cool gigs, like the Cathouse Hollywood podcast and the Triple R podcast and the Ball are really, really good. But right now I'd like to do something that pays me, because one day I'd like to retire. I don't know what that would be like, but I don't want to be like, oh, and here we are, kids. In the meantime, the things that I'm doing, I love doing, and I'm very, very proud of what I'm doing. And that's the one thing I can say about the Ball is I'm very, very proud of the show. It's goofy sometimes, but it's great. We play killer videos. And the thing that I'm finding is there's so much good new music out there. I mean, it's like, last week, it's like, we got to premiere the Fear Factory video and the Cannibal Corpse video and the Red Bang video. It's like we get to premiere these videos, and now these people, it's like, wow, this is kind of cool. And there's and it's fun to get excited about new music as well as play the old stuff as well.
Awesome.
We wish you the best of luck, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I really had a good time.
All right, bro. The great Riki Rachtman.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Talk to you soon, brother.
Peace out.
Bye.
And that was Riki Rachtman. Holy shit. If fucking 12-year-old me only knew that I would be talking to Riki Rachtman in my 40s, I would be like, really? I don't think that would ever come to fruition. Me fucking sneaking out of my bed to see Headbangers Bowl at 1 o'clock in the morning with my brother. Pretty dope. The guy's fucking cool. The guy's humble. He needs a fucking manager and a publicist so he can make some fucking coin and he can get his Netflix special. Cathouse Hollywood Netflix special. I see it. It needs to happen. Anybody knows anybody out there on Netflix, make it fucking happen. That's a documentary that would just blow the fuck up, my friend. Go to cathousehollywood.com. Get some apparel. His podcast, you got the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. You got Triple R podcast. The guy's got his hand in everything. I mean, when it comes to rock and roll. Charity motorcycle runs. I mean, this guy's a sweetheart. So with that being said, Rocco, what do you have to say to the people?
If you just heard us talking to Riki Rachtman and you think you could turn to like Wally Backman, eating up those gummies like you're Pac-Man, and you'd rather be the Joker than Batman, then you just listen to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
Yeah.